There are places on this earth where humans were never meant to go. Places where the trees grow so thick the sunlight never reaches the ground. Places where the silence is so deep it has a sound of its own. And places where something ancient has been watching for a very long time. 3 people went into the woods. 3 people came back, but not one of them came back the same. These are their stories, and if you are listening to this alone, you might want to stay away from the windows tonight. Story 1. This is the story of Brett, a 24-year-old from rural Vermont, and what he found deep in the woods behind his childhood home during a late-night walk. Something that had been there for years, something that had been watching his house, and something that called out to him in his own mother's voice from the darkness between the trees. My name is Brett. I am 24 years old. I grew up in a small town in Vermont, population maybe 800 people. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone and nothing ever happens. The woods behind my childhood home stretch for 40 miles without interruption. I grew up playing in those woods, hiking them, knowing every trail and every tree. I thought I knew what lived in them. I was wrong. This happened 2 summers ago. I was back home visiting my parents for a few weeks. Old habits came back quickly. Late nights, long walks, the smell of pine and earth that I had missed living in the city. It was a Tuesday night, around midnight. I could not sleep, so I did what I always used to do as a teenager. I went for a walk in the woods. I did not bring a flashlight. I did not need one. I knew every inch of that trail by memory. The night was clear. Some moonlight filtered through the canopy. I walked for maybe 20 minutes before I noticed something was different. The woods were completely silent. Not quiet, silent. No crickets, no wind, no owls, no distant rustling of small animals in the underbrush. Absolute silence. Like the forest was holding its breath. I stopped walking. Every hair on my body was standing up. I had walked these woods 1,000 times. They were never silent. Not like this. I stood very still and listened. And then I saw it. About 30 feet off the trail to my left, a shape between the trees. Tall, much taller than a man, standing completely still. I could not make out details, just a shape, dark against the slightly lighter dark of the forest, standing there, watching me. I told myself it was a tree, an odd-shaped trunk, a shadow playing tricks. I took 1 step forward on the trail. The shape took 1 step forward too. Not toward me, matching me, 1 step forward. I stopped. It stopped. I took 2 steps. It took 2 steps. I turned around and walked back toward the house, slowly, trying not to run. Every instinct screaming at me to run. I could hear it now, moving parallel to me through the trees, matching every single step. Not getting closer, not falling behind, just keeping pace. For 20 minutes, I walked back to the house with that thing moving alongside me through the trees. I got to the edge of the yard and stepped into the open. I turned around. The shape was standing at the tree line, just standing there, where the woods ended and the yard began, like it could not cross into the open, or would not. I went inside, locked the door, told myself it was a moose, a bear, anything normal. At 2 in the morning, I heard my mother's voice outside. "Brett," it said, "come back out." My mother was asleep upstairs. I could hear her breathing through the baby monitor she still kept on for my father, who had trouble sleeping. "Brett," it said again, "I need you." My mother's voice. Perfect. Every inflection, every tone. Exactly right. Coming from the tree line. I did not open the door. I sat with my back against it until sunrise. In the morning, I went outside. At the tree line where the shape had been standing, the grass was flattened in 2 enormous prints. Not animal prints. Something that had been standing there on 2 legs for hours. I do not walk in the woods at night anymore. And whenever my phone rings late at night and I hear my mother's voice on the other end, I always call her back on her landline first, just to make sure it is actually her. Story 2. This is the story of Caitlin, a 29-year-old from the forests of northern Michigan, and what her trail camera captured for 6 straight nights deep in the woods behind her cabin. Something that came closer every single night. Something that stood outside her door on the 6th night. And something that she found a drawing of inside a hollow tree that looked exactly like her face. My name is Caitlin. I am 29 years old. I own a small cabin in the woods of northern Michigan. I bought it 3 years ago as a retreat, a place to disconnect. No neighbors for miles, just pine trees and silence and the occasional deer. I set up a trail camera about 200 feet into the woods to watch for wildlife. I wish I never had. The first night, the camera captured nothing unusual. Deer, a fox, the normal movement of the forest at night. The second night was different. I was reviewing the footage on my laptop when I saw it. At 2:47 in the morning, a figure walking through the frame. Bipedal, human-shaped, but moving wrong. Too slow, too deliberate, like each step was being carefully thought about. It walked through the frame and disappeared into the trees. I told myself it was a hiker, a neighbor cutting through the property, someone completely harmless. The third night, it was back, but this time it stopped in front of the camera and stood there for 47 minutes, facing the camera directly. In the dark, I could not make out a face, just a shape, standing perfectly still for 47 minutes in the middle of the night in the woods. And then it walked away. The fourth night, it was closer, not at the camera, but in the background of every frame, lurking at the edge of the detection zone. The fifth night, it was at the edge of the trees closest to the cabin, just standing, looking toward the cabin, toward my window. On the sixth night, I checked the camera footage first thing in the morning. The figure had walked all the way to my front door. The timestamp said 3:15 in the morning. It had stood at my front door for 1 hour and 12 minutes. I had been asleep 10 feet away on the other side of that door. I packed a bag and drove to town that morning. I stayed with a friend for a week. When I came back, I walked out to where the trail camera had first captured the figure. I was looking for footprints, evidence, something rational. Instead, I found something else. A hollow tree, old, Wide trunk, split open at the base. Something was tucked inside the hollow. I reached in and pulled it out. A piece of bark, and on it, scratched deep with something sharp, a face. My face. Not a rough approximation, not something vague that could be anyone. My face. My eyes, my nose, my mouth. Scratched into a piece of bark and hidden in a hollow tree 200 feet from my cabin. I do not know how long it had been there. I do not know how long something had been watching me before I ever set up that camera. I sold the cabin 4 months later. The new owners called me once to ask about the trail camera I had left behind. They said it was still recording, and that something had been coming back every night since they moved in, getting a little closer every time. I did not know what to tell them. Story 3. This is the story of Nathan, a 31-year-old from the Appalachian wilderness of West Virginia, and what his hiking group encountered on a trail that should have taken 4 hours but took 3 days. A trail that looped no matter which direction they walked, trees that were marked but led nowhere, and something that picked them off one by one in the night, leaving their boots behind and nothing else. My name is Nathan. I am 31 years old. I have been hiking the Appalachian wilderness since I was 15. Serious hiking, multi-day trips, remote terrain. I know these mountains the way most people know their own neighborhoods. What happened 3 years ago in the backcountry of West Virginia, I have never fully explained to anyone. Until now. There were 5 of us, all experienced hikers, all in good shape, all with proper gear and navigation equipment. The trail we chose was a 14-mile loop, well documented, moderate difficulty, estimated completion time 4 to 5 hours. We set out at 7 in the morning. We did not find our way out for 3 days. The first sign that something was wrong came at the 2-hour mark. We reached a trail marker we had already passed. We had been walking in the same direction the entire time. No turns, no backtracking, compass pointing consistently north. And yet, we were back where we had started 2 hours ago. We tried again, different pace, paying closer attention. 2 hours later, same marker. We made camp before dark. Rational decision. Rest. Reassess in the morning. That was the first night. At some point after midnight, I woke up. The fire had burned low, and one of us was missing. Donna, the most experienced hiker in the group. Her sleeping bag was empty. Her boots were still there beside it. Nobody leaves their boots. Nobody. We called her name for an hour. Nothing. No response. No movement in the trees. Nothing. As if she had simply stood up in the middle of the night and walked barefoot into the dark Appalachian wilderness. We searched at first light, found no trace, no footprints beyond the camp perimeter, no broken branches, no sign of struggle, just her boots, sitting neatly beside her empty sleeping bag. We packed up and moved, fast, all 4 of us now. We walked for 6 hours and reached the same marker again. The loop was tightening. The second night, we kept watch in shifts. At 3 in the morning, the person on watch shook me awake. "Marcus is gone," he whispered. His boots were beside his sleeping bag. 3 of us now. We did not sleep again. We walked through the night. And we heard it for the first time. Movement in the trees around us, circling the camp. Slow, patient, deliberate. Something walking a wide circle around us in the dark. We pointed our flashlights into the trees. Every time we looked directly at it, the sound stopped. Every time we looked away, it started again. At dawn on the third day, we ran. No trail, no compass, just downhill as fast as we could move. 2 hours later, we burst out of the tree line onto a logging road. A truck driver found us and called the rangers. Search and rescue went in for Donna and Marcus. They searched for 4 days. They found the camp. They found the boots, both pairs, sitting neatly side by side. They never found Donna. They never found Marcus. The rangers told us the trail we had been on does not loop. It is a straight 14-mile out and back. There is no way to walk it in a circle. I have thought about that every single day for 3 years. And I have one question that I cannot answer. If the trail does not loop, then what kept bringing us back to that marker? And what took Donna and Marcus and left nothing behind but their boots? 3 people, 3 forests, 3 things that do not have names. Brett still lives in the city. He has not visited his parents since that summer. He told me he cannot look at a tree line at night without hearing his mother's voice coming from somewhere inside it. Caitlin moved to an apartment in downtown Detroit. No trees for miles. She told me she still checks the trail camera footage sometimes. The new owners stopped calling 3 months ago. She does not know why. And Nathan. Nathan still hikes, but never alone, and never in West Virginia. The woods are ancient, older than any map, older than any trail, and some parts of them have never been meant for human eyes. The next time you are deep in the forest and the birds go silent and the wind stops and something at the edge of your vision is standing very still between the trees, do not look directly at it. Do not run. And whatever you hear calling your name from somewhere in the dark, do not answer. Good night.